Good evening, guys. Give me just 1 second. I gotta share my screen. There we go. All right. I'm gonna review my futures trading this day. It was a hell of a painful day, guys. It was a freaking painful day. What a day to follow up Friday. Hopefully, all you guys that are attending this live and watching this recording watched Friday's futures trade review. If you have not, please do. If you want to just skip to the 17-minute mark where I do that psychology lesson, it's a fantastic little psychology lesson there. And the same thing happened, but it was a million times worse. And it didn't have a happy ending, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to review every trade that I took today. And yeah. Have any I'll see if I have any critiques for anything that I did, but let me just fast forward. So as you guys know, trade options the first hour. That video will be sent out shortly. I'm gonna get that uploaded tonight. I'll probably upload this one tomorrow morning, maybe tonight as well. We'll see. But the morning was great. The morning has been great. The first hour of market open, when I just trade options, has been great for the last 5 days. For the last, really, I haven't had a great day during the second hour of price action on futures since the 23rd of October. So, like 2 weeks now. It's pretty unfortunate. And today is no exception. The last like 4 days in a row, I've been barely green. One of those days I cheated and came back and traded and flipped the day green, which I usually don't do. I don't recommend doing that. So that one doesn't really count, but if I were to count it, this is my first red day in 4 days, and I'm red by a single trade, which is about $2,300 in total. But all right, so as usual, we start at the 1 hour after 1 hour after market open mark, and this is that. And this is where we were at. Now we were trending pretty hard. NQ swept liquidity, and it missed this bottom one, but it did sweep liquidity here, just by a little bit. And at the moment, the market was looking pretty bullish on the 15-minute. We were chopping down. We made lower lows. We rebounded all the way back up. But like I've said before, this 57.24 level, I could not be more bearish for it to break. I couldn't be more bearish for it to break earlier this morning. And now I am like, literally, guys, I spent half of today thinking about 57.24 on ES. Not going to lie. I really wanted it to break over here. Came very close multiple times. This demand is pretty much out of liquidity by now, and especially by now. But at the moment, we've been making lower lows in demand, and we bounce all the way back up and validating a majority of the move. So I'm leaning bullish still. But so yeah, I was leaning bullish, thinking, okay, well, we're likely to consolidate. I do have a decent PT. My next pivot is right here. So this is kind of what I'm looking for at the moment. And if we get some kind of consolidation, if we invalidate a majority of the drop, I'm down to hop in the trade. And I did. I actually hopped in on this candle right here, long, just to my pivot. We are in fairly heavy supply, but the trend is extremely strong, so it's not that big of a deal. And I had a fairly tight stop loss, decent risk to reward on this trade. Just a normal, consolidation, continuation trade here alongside the trend. And that one stopped out like almost immediately. Actually, it missed my stop loss. And it put in this bull pennant. Okay. Now, I entered NQ because it was stronger than ES, which it was indeed stronger than ES. It had a decent chance, but here's the problem. We had a perfect trend line, and my policy with perfect trend lines is pretty much the same view that I have with perfect double bottoms and double tops and whatnot, is that they have to break. So even though we got back to green, I wasn't super confident in this trade anymore because the trend line was just a little bit too perfect on NQ. But it faked a break to the upside, so I'm thinking double fake prophecy. It'll fake one way, fake the other way, go the original way. So at this point, I'm kind of thinking it's more likely to stop out. And sure enough, it did stop out. I'm like, all right, whatever it is, what it is. It's kind of what you get. Like more than 50% of the time you trade consolidation and supply, but due to risk to reward, if I lose once, maybe twice before it breaks the upside, I usually end up green on the entire situation. So we made a lower low, watching for it to bounce now. I am noticing that, you know what? ES has some, decent targets here. It's got this one here. I'm just going to highlight all these real quick. But the problem is right now is ES is technically in a bull flag, but it's a very steep flag that doesn't have much validity. But at the same time, I'm also kind of concerned that ES is going to put in a head and shoulders. And, well, I'm kind of triggered back into longs if a majority of this drop invalidates. But ES could put in a head and shoulders. So that's kind of conflicting analysis there. But we end up bouncing. And I usually, as you guys know, I have a rule that I do not fill my trade until the last 10 seconds of the candle minimum. And specifically in situations like this, I really let the candles close. Unfortunately for me today, as you guys saw, I assume you guys were the same. I'm not sure though. My trading view was the timer was ahead by like 4 seconds. Okay. So as you guys know, when you have the candle going on the right side here, on the y-axis, you'll have the little timer and it'll be counting down the seconds until this candle closes and the next candle starts. Well, I was looking at that and I waited for that timer to get to 0 and I filled long on this trade. However, I noticed that the candle wasn't moving on right away. And I should have realized it sooner, but regardless, whatever. I waited till like there's 4 seconds left. Turns out there was like 4 seconds left. And it just kind of sat without the timer and then moved on. That actually happened pretty much all day today. I'm not sure why. I may need to restart my TradingView app. So I didn't wait for the candle to close. It had about 3 seconds left. Unfortunately, you guys see how this closed. I filled this trade up here. It looked good. But in the last second of the candle, about 1 second after I filled, really, it got this nasty selling wick. And it's just super unlucky. If that selling wick was formed just 1 second earlier, I would not have hopped it back in long here. So super, super, super unlucky here. The worst thing that, I could see and was not looking good. I had to keep a tight stop loss, above the lower low because I know that if it gets down to here, it's going to make a lower low. And I don't know if it's for sure going to make that lower low and bounce or if it's going to continue down. So I put my stop loss where it is likely to continue going against me. And the hypothesis is invalidated. And this bounce is my hypothesis. Bounce goes away. I'm invalidated. And sure enough, boom, stop out. That was just really, really, really unlucky. There's not much I can do about that. I waited until there was no time left on TradingView and the candle was still super bullish. I filled it. Right after I filled it, got an ugly selling wick. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. No mistake made there. It's just unlucky. And sure enough, I hop right back in on this candle. Like, all right, you know what? I usually give setups 3 strikes and you're out. And this is a strike I'm giving it. Started off green, was a little weak. Boom, stopped out. So I lost 3 times in a row. That one I couldn't really do much about. It's whatever. This one, the second loss should not have happened. 100% should not have happened. Horrific luck there. Really bad luck. So I'm down 3 trades in a row now, which is pretty unfortunate. And that right there makes me skittish on kind of the rest of my entries. You are bullish for this stupid consolidation to break to the upside, but ES keeps dragging NQ down, and I keep stopping out of trades, and well, really this one I didn't mean to get in. So I'm 0-3 at the moment, and I wasn't going to hop back in because I usually just give a setup 3 strikes and you're out. But I couldn't help myself. I'm like, damn it, I'm freaking confirmed in. And it does that kind of series of events, losing twice or 3 times on the same setup in a row, specifically 3 times. I'll lose 2 times, it's not uncommon. Maybe a couple times a week I'll lose twice on the same setup. But 3 times in a row, that's maybe once a week thing. And usually the trade's done by then. But I decided to hop back in. I'm like, all right, last shot, I promise. Because ES was making lower lows. It got a volume spike indicating reversal. It's the first reversal indication, and NQ is just stronger than ES. So I did end up filling, and I actually got a decent fill. I filled like down here. And this was my last attempt on this setup. Pretty big risk to reward, and notice how my losses were pretty small. I'm still trading half size, and we missed the PT. So I'm like, oh Lord, have mercy. Well, we end up falling, and I'm like, oh boy. No way I stop out 3 times in a row, and this time that's finally green is going to miss my PT and stop me out. Well, it's starting to look like a rising wedge, and what do you know? ES is starting to look like a head and shoulders. Well, ES has this little triple top going on right here, so I'm bullish for this level to break. Gets back to break even and bounces, and this is now a rising wedge forming. I'm like, oh, sweet Lord, have mercy. Well, we end up bouncing, and it missed my PT again. You guys can't see it, but my PT was 1 tick above this blue line here. It missed it by a single tick. So I'm puckered right now, and I'm doing the safety squint, bracing for impact to be heartbroken. But I got lucky, and PT hit. I'm like, okay, made back most of my loss. I'm only down by like $200 per account. All right. And like I said, I'm still trading half size. The market's been freaking crazy lately. We got elections tomorrow, probably today if you're watching this later, and then interest rates on Thursday. So this was nice. This was a nice little break from the pain. And, at this point, we kind of blew through that pivot. I had to take a step back and look at the 15-minute chart. And you know what? It looks bullish. We have lower highs. Well, we really have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lower highs at the moment. We have lower lows in demand. We've invalidated most of this drop. I'm bullish for us to get to these pivots up here. ES doesn't look half bad either. Look at the ES chart. Looks like a descending broadening wedge. It's rare that you see this setup not break to the upside. Plus, we have pretty much a perfect trend line on ES. And as you guys know, we kind of had a perfect trend line on that bullpen on NQ. And what happened? It broke to the downside. Well, starting to lean bullish for this trend line to break to the upside. So now at this point, I'm starting to lean bearish. Sorry, bullish. Still sick, by the way. Just a little bit. But you know what? I could enter right now. I could. But I'm unwilling to not wait for a pullback or some kind of consolidation. Because yes, I could hop in and I'll be confirmed. But if it just shoots straight up and I miss it, I will be less sad than I would be if I took this trade knowing I really should wait for some kind of consolidation or pullback, and I didn't, and I end up losing money because of it. So that's kind of how I judge things. Which would upset me more? And I do the thing that won't upset me more if my outcome doesn't happen. So I decided to wait. We finally started getting a pullback. I'm like, okay, ES has like a quintuple top right here. This resistance can't be much stronger. The more times you test a resistance or support, the weaker it gets. So I'm bullish for this to break. But I'm also bullish for ES to get to this level here. And what do you know? Again, we have a pretty decent trend line on ES. Not yet. We just have a normal 2-point touch trend line. Sorry, I just foreshadowed the future. It becomes a perfect trend line. So anyways, I'm waiting for this drop to invalidate. So get a green candle. That'll be bullish consolidation. I can enter. And it didn't quite happen. And then we dropped. I'm like, guys, that's a short entry. And I called it out to you guys. I said, this is a short entry. But I honestly hesitated a little bit. And it was mostly as a result of me stopping out 3 times in a row on the same setup. And, it wasn't a super easy decision. We rejected this trend line on NQ. The 15-minute chart is still rather bullish. But I am bearish for this trend line to break to the downside on NQ. It's just, how far is it going to go, And for me, I charted it out. I charted out the trade. I said it was a decent. NQ looked weaker than he is at the moment. Here was the potential trade. And really, when I charted it out, it looked like this. So just to make a 1-to-1 risk to reward, that's how close I'd have to put my stop loss. Pretty much one single candle away. And after having my stop loss swept 3 times in a row, I just personally wasn't willing to enter a trade that could get stopped out in a single candle after just getting stopped out so many times. I'm sure you guys can probably relate to that. It was a tough decision, but I decided to sit it out. And, if it dropped a bunch, then consolidated, I would take it. Well, it pretty much just shot right there. And I was leaning pretty bearish for it to continue. My next PT was all the way down here. But my ESPT was right here. So this is where I was bearish for it to go. Here's the problem now. I think ES is going to get to this PT. But that is a lot smaller than my average trade as of lately. And once again, I'm going to have a pretty tight stop loss. But this is smaller than my average trade lately. And NQ looked weaker than ES at the time. But I don't have a good NQ PT that's a decent distance away. This is way too close. I can't put together a one-to-one risk to reward trade out of it. And this is too far away. And I'm, look how hard we ran. We ran up pretty hard. We've been trending up this entire time. It's hard to predict that the trend is just going to turn around on you. So I couldn't really make a decision. I sat it out, and sure enough, I missed it. ES now got to this pivot and swept it. And NQ was just kind of chopping downwards. And then that huge candle happened. And then it had a buying wick. And I'm like, okay, I'll enter short if we bounce a little bit and put in a head and shoulders. Because now it's starting to get kind of close to my PT. And I just couldn't really pull the trigger, to be honest. Now, let me see the timing. Yeah, so it was right here at 9:17. I called out short, but I hesitated too much. And when the next candle opened, it plummeted to here. I'm like, well, that trade's pretty much over. So I technically missed out on shorts there. And I missed out on shorts pretty much on this candle. I did want to enter shorts here, but unfortunately this candle closed lower and NQ was stronger than ES now, and ES is kind of dumping. Again, just a little bit too skittish to place these bets because of what happened earlier. So now NQ is bouncing. I'm looking to enter short again, and I freaking miss it. My order didn't fill. I tried filling kind of at the top of this candle, and I don't market fill. I limit order. I just limit the ask. And I missed this trade. So that was not fun. Missed that trade. Didn't fill. Whatever. But now I'm like, you know what? Because I pretty much said it, and I was starting to say it up here. I'm like, guys, this is starting to be bearish. Like, actually. For the same reason that I enter a lot of my trades nowadays, I'm starting to lean bearish for ES to drop all the way to low a day. And this top bugged me as well. This was another reason why I was a little bit skittish on shorts. It's very rare that you don't have a level like this break nearly immediately. So that was another reason I was hesitant to kind of go short. But I still called it out. It was good TA. A lot of you guys made money on the drop. For me, I just couldn't get myself to pull the trigger. But now, ES has invalidated a majority of this run. Technically, this level, 57.51, is the nearest point of liquidity. But the nearest major point of liquidity is low a day. And now I'm by default starting to lean bearish for new low of day. And this pivot hit immediately. So as I'm starting to kind of consider, okay, I'm starting to be bearish now, really bearish. I need to get in. Hesitation. Huge red candle. Hesitation. Huge red candle. Just kind of missing out on the whole drop. I finally feel short on this candle here on NQ. Wasn't the greatest candle to fill short on, but it looked like NQ started flipping weaker than ES. And by this point, I'm bearish for NQ to get to this PT, this pivot. So I actually filled this not at the greatest point right here. Yeah, I did not get a good fill on this. But then again, I was trading on the MNQ chart, so it was like right around here. So this was my trade. Kept a fairly tight stop loss, just below the high of this selling week. It's okay. It can bounce anywhere and stop me out. There's not a great place to put this one. But now I'm looking for continuation in the nearest pivot, which is this NQ level. And I end up getting it. NQ was weaker than ES, and we did end up dropping. And cool, we finally got 2 green trades in a row. So now I'm green on the day because obviously my risk reward's pretty good. So yeah, I lost 3 times in a row, but those 2 wins made up all 3 of those losses plus half of one average loss. So my average loss is less than my average win. So up by like a third of a win on average. So small green on the day now, which is cool, but I'm still bearish. I mean, I am bearish for ES to clear low a day. And then by the time ES clears low a day, I'm bearish for it to get to this pivot, which is demand. And then the holy grail of price targets, a price target that I've been ranting about for a month, would be just below. So I'm leaning bearish for it. I'm just trying to get in at this point. Any consolidation, let me in to the trade. And when this candle's about 10 seconds from closing or so, I place my short order right here on ES. ES looked like it flipped weaker. I want to take a trade to low of day. That's what I want. So I place my order. It doesn't freaking fill. I'm like, are you kidding me? So my order just gets left there. The candle closes bearish. And sure enough, boom. Like, are you shitting me? So I missed out on that trade. That hurt my psychology a pretty good amount because not only did I stop out 3 times, one of those completely unnecessary. So I stopped out 3 times in a row, even though my hypothesis was correct. And I just got done missing out on shorts because I was too skittish. Now I literally just missed out on this short because I placed my order, attempted to enter. Stupid trade of 8 didn't fill me, and this trade's over in one single candle. And it's a big win too. It's slightly bigger than my average win. So that was freaking frustrating. So yeah, I missed that short at what was that 942? Yep, I missed that short on 942 in my notes. I said I was tempted to enter ES at low a day at this pivot. Couldn't really bring myself to unless because I have a rule that says I can't enter continuation trades on pivots, but this is so bearish and this is a little bit different because right in front of me is the big one. Like the big one that I'm looking for. And look at the 15-minute chart. This is not bullish. This is not bullish at all. So, not going to lie, I was tempted to chase shorts here. I really was, but I waited. I waited for it to bounce, and I said, if it bounces and that bounce invalidates, I can hop in because it's still a decent distance away. Well, I hopped in here, and no. Did I hop in here? I think I hopped in right here. Yes, I hopped in right here. I don't know why in the notes it said I hopped in a few minutes later. I hopped in here pretty much during the next candle, so during the next candle, but I actually got a really good fill. So I filled right here. Let me fast forward. Did I? No. Yes, never mind. I did not fill there. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes and I have it like whenever I do notes, I add a little star of things I'm tempted to do or things that happen. So I tried to, this is what, I let the candle close and I tried to enter shorts here a second time. I placed my order. Are you kidding me? I missed it again. So I was fighting demons here. I was having a rough time. And by this point, NQ got to the pivot that I wanted it to. Well, I'm like, damn, I'm just missing this whole thing. And it's partially not up here was more my fault. I was a little bit too hesitant here. I still had some bullish bias. ES had this nice level. It's whatever. It's fine. You guys made money on it. A lot of you guys did. But this is just straight unlucky. And keep in mind, I've used 5 of my trades. Now, I have a 6 trade rule. Technically, I shouldn't be trading right now because my hour is up. But I have a 6 trade rule. I'm willing to stick around because the market's moving well. This is my last trade. And I'm trying to freaking fill it. And I just can't get filled. So I tried filling here. I didn't fill. I don't know what's going on today. It was right here that I filled. So I waited for a bounce. I waited for that bounce to start invalidating. And here it was. I wasn't super happy with it. It was really close to my next PT. But I was going for the big one. And it is very, very, very rare that I put my PT this far away, guys. Which means I also had to have a far away stop loss. Further away than my average stop loss by a lot. This is like a little bit, where my stop is a little bit higher than my average green trade. 20 ticks-ish is like my average green trade, give or take. As of lately, at least. But I wasn't willing to put my stop loss any higher than that. That's the loss I was willing to take. That was the money I was willing to spend to find out if this is a green trade. Well, here's my hypothesis. ES is going to be weaker than NQ. It was at the time of entry. It wasn't right after I entered, unfortunately. But it wasn't just going to sweep this pivot and bounce, but it was actually going to break through this pivot. And by the time it breaks through that pivot, I would be super bearish for it to get to here. Okay? So this is the trade. And this is the final trade I'm taking. I'm committed to only taking this trade, and that's it. Well, it starts off okay. Tries bouncing a little bit. It's a little sketchy. NQ's weaker than ES, unfortunately. My NQ PT would have been new low of day. But the trade starts looking really good. Really good. And keep in mind, this trade is already up 50% higher than my average win. But my hypothesis hasn't played out. My big PT hasn't hit. And I've waited a month for this PT to hit. And I've taken probably 4 losses trying to get this PT in the past over the last month or so. And I'm not going to sell early for anything. Well, we bounce. And I don't think that's low a day because there's no buying wick there. Whatever. We bounce, we go back to break even. I'm like, well, that kind of sucks. ES did flip weaker than NQ temporarily here, which was nice. And we start heading back down. I'm like, okay, well, that's technically a short entry for those of you that aren't in yet. And we start heading down a lot. NQ flips weaker than ES again, unfortunately. If ES stayed weak, I'd be at pretty much PT right now. But it's looking fairly good. This is bearish consolidation. I called it out. This is like a microscopic bear flag right here. You can see it on like the 15-second chart. Boom, we break to the downside. There's a problem here, though. There's a huge red flag. The volume on this candle is greater than our opening volume. And I said to you guys, and I quote, that is horrific volume. Because typically a major volume spike like that's the first indication of reversal. I pointed out that, this candle right here had a volume spike. And it reversed shortly after. This volume spike is huge. However, the candle still was bearish. Very bearish candle. And I made a joke saying, it only has, 2 more ticks to go. And in order to stop out, it would have to go 70 ticks. Not likely to happen. So I'm thinking I pretty much have this trade in the bag. Very green on the day at this point. I mean, hell, if it gets a PT from here, I'm only making an extra $50 or something per account. So 500, whatever. It reverses. And sure enough, it goes all the way back up and I stop out for a loss. Finishing today, minus 2,300 instead of plus 7,000. So, and I told you guys, when it started going up, I'm like, damn it. ES is stronger than NQ. That's 3 white soldiers. It's a bullish candlestick pattern. Yes, Guru. In total, not per account. So yeah, that's how much I was up before this happened. So it was bullish, and I'm like, trade's not validated until I stop out. I'm not willing to sell this trade early, not on this. This is my last trade. I'm not going to be able to re-enter if I stop out early and it goes right back down. I can't. But I did tell you guys, look, if this trade stops out, that is the trading psychology final boss. And it sure enough went all the way up and stopped me out. So that was extremely painful. But I told you guys, accept the damn results because it's going to be your most confident trades that are going to be your biggest losses. And if you don't accept this loss and it keeps going up, you will blow your account. And like a lot of you guys said in chat, something that I said is not only is your most confident trades that are your biggest losses, but also no amount of money I can make from this trade is worth breaking my rules over and the negative psychological reinforcement that will have on my trading. Sure, I could break my rules, average down, remove my stop loss, and yeah, I can make back the 7 grand or something. Whatever. Well, it'd actually be 9 grand because I finished today minus 2,300. However, if I break my rules whenever I'm unwilling to accept my outcomes, that statistically guarantees that I'm going to blow up my accounts, whether it's your options portfolio, your funded futures accounts, or your personal futures accounts. It becomes statistically guaranteed that you will blow your accounts. Because sure, you can be right 95% of the time, but if you're unwilling to accept loss, even if you stop out of all your trades perfectly, all your normal trades perfectly, and only on trades like this right here, that you are as close to certain that it's going to come back down. 98% is what it had today. I had like a 98% chance this level would come back. Even after this bounce, it would come back down, break. Even if you only, you followed your rules perfectly, but only on the trades like this, where you were 99% confident, 99.99% confident it was going to play out. Yes, if you break your rules and remove your stop loss or average down or do whatever to save the trade, most of the time, a vast majority of the time, yeah, you'll make your money. But what's guaranteed to happen is that 1%, and that 1% is guaranteed to make you lose everything because you cannot accept negative outcomes on hyper confident trades. See, even if you win a vast majority of the time, that 1% is guaranteed to come. And if you are guaranteed to blow your accounts every time the 1% happens, you will never consistently make money because you'll always be statistically guaranteed to lose, no matter what. It's just a matter of how long can this current winning streak be before it all blows up. That's why a lot of you guys and a lot of the people I talk to that know how to trade, they know TA. They know a little bit of trading psychology, but they're pretty good at TA. That's why you can go on 3 days good, really green, 4 days really green, 2 weeks really green, and then your first red day wipes out absolutely everything. That is why, right there. That is why. And this was a major psychological test for me. And not going to lie to you guys, I failed the test. I failed the test today. So after I hopped out of voice, I'm just kind of looking at it. I'm like, you POS. I know it's going to come back down. I didn't re-enter or anything right away. I just sat there and watched it go up. I just sat there and watched the dang thing go up. I watched it drop. I watched it go up some more. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to re-enter. I failed the psychological test today because I was down bad psychologically today. I really was. I had a loose stop loss, but that was my stop loss. I put a hard stop loss no matter what. Not going to blow my accounts over it. But this is breaking my rules. This is me being unwilling to accept my outcomes. Well, shortly, you always think it's a good idea until you break your rules and it stops being a green trade and it starts being a red trade. And you're like, oh shit, what have I done? Type in chat if you guys relate to that. When you decide to break your rules and it starts going red and you're like, oh no, what have I done? So I had that moment. I'm like, Bryce, you folded like a lawn chair. Like, you folded like a lawn chair after pressure, you freaking baby. Who cares about your stupid level? So I threw my order at break even. And I left my stop loss up here. And frankly, I wouldn't even be that mad if it got to my stop loss because I had the mindset of like, you know what? You deserve a massive $500 loss. You deserve it. I don't know why you did what you did, but you deserve it. If it goes up, if it goes all the way to my stop loss without hitting break even, you know what? You deserve it. Whatever. Well, it ended up hitting my break even, and not gonna lie, you know, you really want it to hit break even when you're down a bunch of money on the trade. But when it starts getting close to break even, it's almost like magic. You don't want it to hit break. You don't want to get out at break even anymore. It's crazy how fragile our emotions get when shit hits the fan while trading. So I would have loved break even up here, but when it started coming down, like right here, I did not want to stop out at break even. I really didn't. I thought about removing my break even because I'm like, that freaking level though, there is no way in hell it missed. Like, just to give you guys paint a picture for you guys. I trade every single day. And this entire year, a PT like this and a trend like this with no support in between, no major bounces, not even consolidation, for it to come all the way down and miss my damn level by one tick and then magically just shoot all the way up like nothing's there. We didn't even bounce on the way down, guys. And the one time we do bounce, well, technically second time, but the one time we do bounce, that's it. Uh, that's maybe happened twice this year. And the one time I remember specifically this year is I actually traded on vacation, which I don't usually do because I always do bad. That happened in Miami. I blew all my accounts. So when stuff like that happens, I think that unlucky, that low probability of an event only happened like 3 times this year, according to my memory. Coming that close and just turning around like that, given the trend that we had and the likelihood that it was going to hit that PT, because that PT was already missed 4 times prior on different days. Yeah, out of the last 1,000 trades I took, maybe 5 were that unlucky. Like, it doesn't happen, right? And it's hard to train yourself to accept extremely low probability outcomes when there are so few of these outcomes to be used to train. So not gonna lie, when it was starting to come back down, I did not want to stop out of this trade. Because I was so confident I was gonna get to PT, but I'm like, no, you freaking wimp. It was already a mistake entering this trade. I don't even deserve to win it, even if it does go all the way down, because I broke my rules. That's it. So I allowed it to hit my break even and I hopped out. So that was that. But I sat there and watched it, and I watched this drop. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was pissed when this drop happened. I was not a happy camper. I was watching, I'm like, are you shitting me? And of course, I started regretting stopping at break even, but I already logged out of my broker, prevented myself, had Ashlyn change my password, was not going to take another trade. I couldn't take another trade. But yeah, no, I was pretty upset when this drop's going to happen. I'm like, you son of a. I cannot believe it's going to hit. It's going to hit now. But not gonna lie, I was pretty happy when this happened. I'm like, you know what? It's probably good that I stopped trading because God knows what would have happened if for some reason I decided to re-enter and I had to stop out right here. Who knows what would have happened? And when this happened, I was starting to think, okay, well, we still have this really nice level on ES. It may want to hit. It never hit. So long story short, I broke my rules. I ended up doing what I was supposed to, and I got out of break even, which didn't really deserve to get out of break even. I deserve to take a loss on it, but it is what it is. It's one of the rare times that you see me fold like a lawn chair because I train discipline a lot, and that was enough to do it. And if that was enough to break me just a little bit, I'm sure a lot of you guys blew accounts today if you had this level. But it just goes to show, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how likely the outcome was to happen or still is to happen. You cannot break your rules over it because the 1%, if you are 100% disciplined 99% of the time, and the only time you ever break your rules is when you are for sure certain something is likely to happen because it never not happens or it's very rare that it doesn't. Yeah, you breaking your rules is going to make you your money back and then some most of the time. But that 1%, even though it's rare, that 1% is part of 100%, and that 1% is guaranteed to happen, and you will blow your account if you can't accept even the most heinous of outcomes while trading. So that was rough, but I'm glad I'm glad I was able to get out of break even on that one. Wasn't very happy with it. Definitely didn't achieve my goal today, discipline wise. But yeah, that was the day. It was freaking terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But I haven't looked at the chart in a minute. But we have some hope, folks. This level didn't break overnight. Knock on wood so far. If it comes anywhere near this level tomorrow, I am in there like underwear. No, I'm not going to be over leveraged. Yes, I'm still going to stop out. If somehow, some way, magically, it misses that PT again, which I've written off as all but pretty much impossible. But yeah, this thing's got to go. This demand's got to go. It's ridiculous. You guys can see it here. But so yeah, tomorrow Comes anywhere near, I'm in there. And you know what? Options has been so great lately. My futures has not. It's just been like today. I'm red by one trade. Last 4 days, I've been green by one single trade. A couple days before that, red by like one or two trades. Like I've just been barely skating by on futures lately because the second hour of trading has been so bad. Well, the second hour started out bad today, but the price action was pretty good. Aside from it missing, it had great volatility. It's just kind of a mixture of being really unlucky with my orders not filling and just a little bit skittish towards the beginning of the trend because I got stopped out so many times in the beginning that I just missed it. And you're not going to trade every good price action day perfectly. It is what it is. Yeah. I mean, I got lucky twice with trying to fill short orders that for some reason didn't fill, and I missed out on the green trade. And frankly, if I took that green trade, I wouldn't have had that last loss, right? So if any of those would have filled, it would have ended up being a decent little green day by like two trades. And if the second loss that I had today, if that selling wick showed up a second sooner, I wouldn't have taken a loss there. So was very, very close to being a fantastic day today. Like so close on so many. If just one of my orders filled that didn't fill, that selling wick showed up 1 second soon, legitimately 1 second sooner, I wouldn't have entered. And if that freaking PT hit, it would have been a awesomely green day. But that just wasn't the case, and my psychology took the hit because of it. But regardless, we made right decisions after I folded, and we lived to fight another day. It is what it is. And yeah, it's just ironic going back to that Friday's lesson where I gave that big spiel about, it barely missed the price target. It started to come back. And I asked you guys how many of you were afraid of giving your profits back. How many of your guys' psychology was severely deteriorating? Pretty much all you guys said they were. And I had that big rant. But it was all a happy story because the trade ended up green. That big trade where I entered here and went down, barely missed my stop loss, went all the way up, barely missed PT, came back down to red. Your guys' psychology, including mine, wasn't great, but your guys' psychology was terrible at the moment. You wanted to remove your stop. Well, at least it finished green. This one didn't finish green. The pain with this one is my PT was twice as freaking far. So, yeah, it was a really, really, really rough day. I will say that. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, P&L wise, it's a very mild red day. One green trade covers it. And yeah, it just sucks. It is what it is, though. So for the first time, I'm actually looking at chat now. So let me read some of this. Yep, we'll play it tomorrow. Yeah. PA typically choppy on election days. I have no idea, Alex. Back in 2020, I was trading penny stocks on election day. I wasn't trading the indices. So I have no idea. Frankly, I have no idea. You can look back to price action on the previous election day. I have I have no idea how it's going to be. As long as it's volatile, I'll make money. 1 out of 100 volatile days, or like 1 out of 50 volatile days, I'll be red. For futures, that was one of those days. Options was great this morning, so it's not that big of a deal overall. It wasn't all bad today. Options was really good. And I have that review for you guys as well. I'll be posted to the YouTube. Um, as long as it moves, I'll make money. Vast majority of the time. 98% of the time. But we'll have to see. We also have interest rates and FOMC on Thursday, so that's a pretty big deal. When do you think PA will be back to normal week after elections? I have no idea, Swaggy. I'm just weathering the storm. The second hour of trading has been terrible the last week and a half. It's been fairly good to me the last 8 months, so I'm not going to switch up just on a week and a half of a bad second hour. But we'll see. I may need to change the time here after elections. We may move into a different market. It's hard to tell, but we'll see what happens. But all right, well, that's pretty much it, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Type in chat if you found this trade review valuable. Hope you guys seeing my psychological deterioration, yet me still stopping out, motivates you guys to stop out of trades you really don't want to. Because to be real, guys, if you don't stop out of this trade, you blow your accounts. Simple as that. Like, it did not go back down at all. Like, it just shot up. for literally an hour since it happened. It shot up for an entire hour since it happened. And like one of our members in chat that usually loves to tell me that they quadrupled down on their red trade after I stopped out, and they love to tell me when that trade goes back green. You guys know what I'm talking about? The guy that's like, well, I just quadrupled down right after I stop out of a trade, and he ends up green because he did it, like up here. Well, he was saying he quadrupled down right here, and I asked him how he was doing, if his account was still live. No response. He deleted his message, so I assumed the worst happened. You don't do it, because you know what? Doubling down works until it doesn't. Until it doesn't. So, rip to everyone that did that. But if you did do that and you're in this session, learn from it. Write it down. Do whatever it takes to reinforce the fact, the psychological fact that that is bad. We can't do that anymore. Never again. And move on from it. But all right. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. It'll be an interesting day. We'll see how we do. And I'll let you guys know when this recording is uploaded. If you guys need anything, feel free to reach out in my DMs on Discord or just ping me in one of the chats. And yeah, you guys have a great night. We'll be back at it tomorrow for hopefully another good options day and a way better futures day. But all right, I'll see you guys later.